Hello, Yasmin. Welcome to the
Hi.
Playground Conversations, and I'm so excited to have you here from Scotland at 7 in the morning. Is that right?
Yes, it's 7 a.m. here. Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure. I've been really looking forward to having this chat with you. We've been connected on Twitter for a while and Instagram, and I've been really impressed with all your artwork. And
Oh, thank you so much.
it's just,
I've been
sorry?
I've been really excited for this call. I've been really excited to have a chat with you and um just talk about all the different things that we've been sort of talking about on Twitter and getting that a bit sort of going into that in a bit more detail. It's really exciting.
Absolutely, I feel exactly the same. I feel like so much of your art and your vision for the Charisma Cafe and even just the way that you interact with people on Twitter that I've seen, it just resonates with me so much. And I just really, I can't wait to hear all about all these different things. So let's just start directly with the Charisma Cafe. This is a project that has been in the works for a couple of years now, I believe. Do you want to talk us
Yes.
through it?
Yeah, it's something that's sort of been sort of at the back of my mind for a few years, and it's sort of slowly been creeping forward. And the main sort of concept behind the Charisma Cafe is sort of connection and being with other people and sort of um, sort of sharing in activities. And as the sort of pandemic hit and we entered into lockdown, that sort of um, need for connection got so much stronger. And I was just like, this is exactly what the Charisma Cafe is looking to do, bring people together, people who are maybe sort of more isolated. We've all got our circle of friends, and we've sort of met in different ways. Perhaps we've met through school or we've met through work. So our shared activities and the things that we enjoy are not always they don't always align. So my sort of concept of the Charisma Cafe was having somewhere that you can go and meet new people and bring along people that you already know, but coming together and doing things that you enjoy and other people also enjoy, and being able to share that. So it's definitely now at the sort of the forefront of what I'm looking to do. So it's um it's all sort of coming together for me.
That's super exciting to hear about. And I love your vision of having a space where people can come together and bond over activities because, like you said, we grow up with different people. We don't always have shared interests after a point, and having activities to bond over can really take the pressure off social communication. Like, I find social communication really hard sometimes, and I like having the distraction of something between me and the other person that we can both look at that. And it's just a low pressure but also a very fulfilling way to engage. So what sort of activities will happen at the Charisma Cafe? Is it something that people can choose their own activities, or are there fixed activities that are offered at the cafe? Tell us more about that.
So my sort of vision is to have a mixture. So we'll have sort of structured workshops. So for example, art workshops where you can come along and maybe learn how to paint a specific picture, and everybody is learning how to paint that one picture. So it's sort of structured in that way. Same with sort of perhaps we'll have an ongoing Dungeons and Dragons campaign going, and that will be structured and it will have the same sort of groups each week. So you're getting to build up that bond. But at the same time, having sort of unstructured activities. So, if you are at a loss of something to do, it's raining on Saturday morning and you had intended on going out to play a sport, and the rain's sort of taken that away from you, and you think, what else can I do? Dropping in at the cafe and maybe playing a board game with somebody who's there. Perhaps you want to play a game of checkers, or you want to bring the kids along and play snakes and ladders. anything like that. So it'll have that sort of unstructured feel. You know, if you want to come in and do a little bit of maybe plein air painting and you think, oh, I'll just sit down with some watercolors, or you know, if you're into sort of maybe crochet or knitting, you can either do a structured group coming along and meeting others, you know, on a regular set night, or coming along just when you feel like it, having a coffee, getting your crochet out and working on your own project. So it's finding that sort of balance of being able to do whatever you want when you want, or joining in with others at a set time. So a little bit of a mix.
That sounds really lovely. So it sounds like the impression I'm getting is that the space itself will be sort of like a community space, center where people can go there either intentionally to join the spaces that are pre-allocated, or they can go there sort of spontaneously. And it's kind of like just going to a friend's house and just relaxing for a little bit. Is that sort of the feel?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I hadn't sort of thought of it in that way, but that is exactly it. Being able to just sort of turn up and be like, oh hi, and you know, having that friendly atmosphere, that nice vibe of people sort of being friendly. That's what I'm looking for.
That sounds really, really beautiful. So is this going to be only a physical space? Is there like also an online version, or how does this work? So, because you mentioned before people that feel a little bit isolated, people that might want to go connect with other people. And you also mentioned the pandemic, and a lot of people are nervous about going out. Actually, I don't know how it is in Scotland. I know how it is in Australia. People are pretty nervous at the moment, but yeah, is that what's that going to look like?
Yeah, there's still a lot of nervousness over here. It's sort of, are we supposed to be wearing masks? Are we not supposed to be wearing masks? And there is still a lot of unsurety when when people are sort of going out. So it is something that is still on people's minds over here. I think everyone's a little bit apprehensive of sort of meeting new people and doing new things. So it's definitely something that that I have thought about. And we've got a Discord group as well. So alongside the physical sort of bricks and mortar cafe, we will keep the Discord running. So on the Discord, we have sort of weekly prompts for artwork. We have places where you can sort of find new team members for games. We run sort of weekly sessions, and just depending on sort of who's around in the Discord and what people are wanting to do, we try and do something different. So I've been doing sort of weekly sort of art club, I've been calling it, where you can just sort of drop in and work alongside other people who are doing art or doing a craft at the same time, just to sort of a place to sort of chat to people whilst you do your activity. So most of the time I'm painting because that's my activity of choice. But I do have friends who will maybe bring some yarn along and crochet their prompt rather than painting it. So for example, this week's prompt is weather, and the alternative prompt is good times. So really open for interpretation. So I'm gonna have to really think of something to to paint for that. But other people might be doing some mixed media, they might be doing some crocheting or whatever in order to do their prompt. We've also got a Dungeons and Dragons team. So you can sort of say if you're a new player and you want to take part. And we have sort of ongoing campaigns going with a dungeon master. So that's quite fun. I like to take part in that. We're on a break at the moment and I really miss it. Again, it's something that it's something that is on weekly, and it's something that you can sort of look forward to. And definitely during the pandemic, I found that really important, having something that I could sort of say, right, okay, Tuesday nights, this is what I do. Thursday nights, this is what I do. Saturday nights, this is what I do. And having that option of a structure there, I found really important.
I really resonate so much with everything that you're talking about, because my vision with playground is quite similar. And just the idea of parallel play, where people can come together and they can choose to do the same activity or do their own activity. And the idea of just being social near each other without necessarily having input in what everyone else
Yeah.
is doing. It's just such a soothing concept to me. And I'm really just loving the philosophy of your community and the way that you're describing the space. It just sounds so wholesome and welcoming, and also diverse. Like, there's so many different activities that you've got. There's so many different ways in which people can engage. It's almost like a choose your own participation level, choose your own activity, and just, you're just welcome just as you are, which is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. I like the option of being able to sort of choose your level of engagement. So for example, on the Discord, I will have my camera on and I will sort of be talking into the camera and doing my painting whilst the camera is on. But I'm quite happy for other people to have their camera off and just sort of talk verbally through the sort of through their microphone. Or there's also a text chat, so you can just type in, because I know myself, I have different energy levels. And sometimes I don't want to be on camera. Sometimes I don't want to have that full, that 100% energy where I have to be smiling all the time. That's taking up a lot of my energy. So
Yeah.
I like being able to still be a part of things and be able to just maybe text chat and just sort of I'm listening along to the conversation. I'm still taking part because I'm able to sort of put my text opinion across, and people are able to pick that up and continue. So I think it's really important being able to have those different levels so that people are still involved, where perhaps they might not be as confident to go on camera or as confident to use their microphone, or they just might not have the energy to do it. And I totally understand that. And I'm with other people when, if they're at that point where they just want to have something low energy. I know sometimes people will just listen in. They don't want to fully take part and have that full engagement. So they're just sort of listening in, enjoying that atmosphere, but they're not ready. They're not at that level that they want to put their full input yet. And that's okay. And being able to just sort of say, yeah, come along, just have a listen. And just do what you, I want to say do what you feel able to, but it's not even about sort of ability. It's about what you feel comfortable with, what you want to do. Because sometimes just because you're able to do it doesn't mean you have to.
I love that. That's really, really beautiful and understanding and considerate, because, like, we live in the age of Zoom fatigue, and everyone's really tired of having all their engagement, at max level, especially when we're putting out so much energy, like you said, having to smile all the time, having to be fully attentive. It's really hard to have the focus off of you if your face is right there, you're speaking into the microphone. And it's just nice for people to have a chill space where they can choose how much to engage, whether or not to engage, whether to, engage off and on a little bit. And it's just really
Mhm.
nice to hear that you're creating that sort of space for people. And I'm sure that is something that is being appreciated and will continue to be appreciated, which is fantastic. Do you find that people have different confidence levels in terms of, say, their artistic ability? Because a lot of the things that you do yourself includes painting and artwork, and you talked about other people who are knitting or crocheting or doing their other activities. But do you also find people coming in who say, oh, I have zero um, drawing skills, or I have zero knitting skills, but I still want to do something, I just want to come play? So how
Yeah.
do you, yeah,
Oh, 100%. I see it a lot on Twitter as well. I'll maybe put up a piece of artwork and someone will say, oh, that's beautiful. Um, I could never do that. I could never do that. Um, all I can do is stick figures. And
that's me.
and to that, I just sort of say, everybody starts somewhere. And um, I was sort of saying that, I still don't really see myself as a creative person, or an arty person. But I've been, for the past 9 or 10 months, I've been doing a painting a day. I've been painting something almost every day. And it's boosted my um my artistic levels. And they say practice makes perfect, and I'm not saying that any of my stuff is perfect, but I'm definitely in the mindset that the more you do something, the better at it you get. And I also would say that everybody has their own style and everybody does things in a different way. So something that I do is going to be different to, say, something that you do. It doesn't make it better or worse. It's different. Um, and so, and I love abstract art where it's so not true to life that you can't say, oh well, that's an exact replica and it's exactly how it should be. That's what makes abstract art beautiful, that it is so different and it has so many different interpretations, and being able to just sort of see the beauty in mark making. So I like the term mark making, because it doesn't imply that you have to um create something that is real to life, but you're creating something that's coming from your emotions. And I think that's what's important. Not that my piece of artwork looks like this still life that we're looking at. The ability to put pen to paper, or paint to canvas, that's what's important. Being able to express yourself in a way that gets what's inside, getting it out and sharing it with the world. And I think that's sort of what's important. And you were also saying about sort of parallel play, and I really like that, in terms of for example, I know how to crochet, but I'm not what someone would say is good at it, but I enjoy doing it. So although I wouldn't have something that I would be happy giving away to someone and being like, here's a lovely gift that I've made. I enjoy I enjoy doing it. So having somebody else who's maybe working alongside, doing the same prompt as me, but they're doing crochet, I love to see that, because I know that they're doing something that they're really enjoying and that they're really passionate about, and I can appreciate what they're like. I can appreciate their craft. And so if you feel more confident doing a different art form, I'm happy for you to do that as well. So I just enjoy seeing other people happy with what they're doing. And that's what's important. Not being good at something. What's important is sort of that emotional release that you have from doing what you're doing.
That's absolutely, that's you've nailed it. That's exactly how it is. I couldn't have worded it better. It's yeah, that's really, really cool. I noticed that you said about how the last 9 or 10 months you've been doing a painting every single day. That's really impressive. That's where do you keep all these paintings? Do you keep them? What do you do with them?
So some I sell, some I keep, some I hang, some are just sort of sitting stacked in my living room. Some I give away, either as gifts or to sort of local local care homes or local places. Sometimes, although I'm painting every day, it might take me a week or 2 weeks to make a creation. So it's not as many as you would think. Sometimes they're really small and tiny. Sometimes I'm working on something like a really huge piece that can take quite a while. Having said that, some of my small pieces take quite a while. Uh, but I think that it comes down to I take enjoyment from what I'm doing. So I feel like I can continue doing it every day. So I will, I, I feel stress relief when I'm painting. So if I sort of get sort of halfway through the day and I'm sort of feeling a bit stressed out, or I feel like, oh, the world's coming in on me, then I'll sort of be like, right, okay, I'll get the paints out. I'll just I've finished off something, finish off a piece of artwork, or I'll continue working on something else. Or quite often I'll start something new and then I've got maybe 3 or 4 pieces on the go at once. So yeah,
That sounds
sometimes I'll just get the sketchbook out and I'll just sketch.
oh, yeah, I don't think I've seen too many of your sketches. I've seen maybe one. Oh, I wasn't sure if that was a painting, if that was a sketch, but I probably haven't seen too many. I need to look at your Instagram again, because I've seen a lot of your paintings. Your paintings are just stunning. I need to see more of your sketches. I really enjoy seeing different forms of visual art, and I quite like your style. You've got some really unique features in your artwork. Sometimes I see similar patterns and like themes emerging across different works. Like one of the things I've noticed is the palette that you seem to favor. There seems to be a lot of like pink, purple, blue, sort of gold as well. Is that
Yeah,
is that something that you've noticed you deliberately choose, or is it just what you gravitate towards instinctively?
it's just what I gravitate towards. Um, I don't notice it at the time. I usually notice it when I'm cleaning my palette and I'm sort of peeling off all of the old paint. I'm like, oh, there's more pink, there's more purple, light blues, light pinks. I seem to gravitate towards, and I don't know why. Um, yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's normally when I paint, I'm sort of thinking, right, okay, what mood am I in? What am I wanting to do? Don't ask me what a light pink and light blue mood is. I don't know. But that's where I'm at, and that's that's what things normally come out as. And yeah, I sometimes I can tell if my mood is different because I'm sort of going towards greens. I'm going towards sort of greens and yellows. And I'm like, oh, I'm in a different mood because I'm away from those pinks and those blues. So I do sort of yeah, I would agree that my palette is pinks and blues and purples.
That's lovely. I really like that you mentioned the change in mood is often reflected in the palette and probably also in the outcomes. Like I noticed recently you had the piece with the very green piece with the winged, was it an angel on the left? Um, and
Yes, the guardian angel.
yeah,
That one was actually I was I don't want to say I was sort of blocked, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And so I watch a lot of painting tutorials, and that was a tutorial that I had seen maybe a couple of months previously. And it was a tutorial by a lady called Michelle, and she had done it. I can't remember who her landscape was, but I sort of painted along with her, and I changed the landscape to the guardian angel looking over Edinburgh. And I felt like, that was something that I really wanted to do. And it was really helpful part of, maybe almost sort of over a third of the painting are these sort of huge angel wings, and it was so therapeutic just sitting and painting these wings. And there are maybe about 4 or 5 different layers to these feathered wings, and it was, I suppose, almost cathartic sitting there painting these sort of fluffy feathers, and I almost sort of escaped somewhere else, and I was able to take my mind off everything else. And I really enjoyed getting that painting done. It was great.
That sounds like a beautiful process and a beautiful experience. And I think that's one of my favorite things about art and art making is that it allows me space to switch off my words and feel um, whatever I'm feeling in colors or shapes or movements or things like that. And it really reminds me that I'm a whole person. I'm not just my brain. I'm not just my words. I'm not just speech. And it sort of allows me to have a fuller experience. And that sounds like what it was like for you painting those wings, and like when you're talking about being transported to a different place and all of that. It sounds really, really lovely. Do you have a
Yeah.
favorite work of all the works that you've made?
Oh, yeah, there's a portrait that I did. It was actually a sketch. And it's just sort of um it's all in sort of different browns. I just used 2 pencils, I think, brown and white. And when I was creating it, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just sort of I was mark making. I was putting the pencil to the paper, and I wasn't sort of, although I was doing a portrait, I wasn't sort of looking for eyes, looking for a nose, looking for a mouth. I was just shading. I saw that there was a lighter part on the top of the cheek. I saw that there was a darker part in the crease of the mouth, and I was just shading along, and all of a sudden the face just emerged, and I was like, wow. Like, I couldn't believe it. And that, I would say that was my favorite piece. It just, because I wasn't concentrating on what I was doing, because it just sort of emerged. I, I actually was using a brown bag, an Amazon bag. I don't know if you have it in Australia, but here in Edinburgh, you can do your weekly food shop through Amazon,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he, the delivery guy will go to your local supermarket, pick up your items, put it in these big um, brown bags, and deliver them. And I had just sort of had, I want to say I'd sort of ironed it out, but I hadn't. I just sort of um, flattened it out, and I was just mark making on the back of it. So this beautiful creation was done on the back of an an Amazon supermarket bag.
That's beautiful.
And that turned out to be my ultimate favorite.
That's amazing.
So
I love how
art
it
comes
just
from everywhere.
elevates the beauty of the ordinary. It just brings art out of everything ordinary in life. And I just love the art of the ordinary. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. So, Yasmin, before you were drawn to art and creativity, what was pre-artist Yasmin like? How did you first get drawn into this?
um Pre-artist Yasmin, very sort of logical, methodical. um Previously, I worked with young people who had chronic life limiting conditions. And I spent a lot of time with young people who didn't have very long to live. And we would we would have really deep conversations, and we would talk about sort of why are we here, what purpose, and we would talk about really sort of deep things. And I think it's quite difficult to have those deep and meaningful conversations, especially when it's not with sort of a family member or a really close friend. And I used, as sort of part of my work, what I would do is I'd go out and find activities for young people to do, with a volunteer, so they could sort of sit down and have conversations, but also be doing something at the same time. And a lot of the things, the sort of activities that we would sort of find to do would involve art. So it could be things like a pottery class, sort of the art of using clay. You're doing something with your hands, and you're able to, I suppose, open up a little bit more and have those conversations. So I did a lot of work with people whilst doing, I suppose, art-like activities. But I found that it was the art-like activities that was sort of the key to helping have those better conversations. So we sort of, well, I sort of gravitated to choosing places that were art related when we were sort of going out on our activities or finding things to do. So although I wasn't, and I still wouldn't really call myself arty, so, although I wouldn't have called myself arty, looking back and with hindsight, I could see that I sort of gravitated towards art-like activities.
So you felt like the instinct was always there, even if you hadn't yet discovered it in your own practice.
Yeah, I think so. I also volunteer with young people, and we do the Duke of Edinburgh Award. So young people go out and they try new skills and they do different things, and a lot of the new skills that that I would suggest them trying would involve drawing, especially during lockdown. It was sort of like, what can you do in your house with not very many resources? So drawing was something that was a good skill. It was a good skill to learn, especially if we talked earlier on about sort of Zoom fatigue. If they've been doing their schoolwork and taking part in classes on Zoom all day, they don't want to be doing activities online. So one of the recommendations was sort of things like drawing, but also music. So if they had like instruments and things, I would recommend sort of improving their music skills as well. And they're all different art forms, but so I suppose you can sort of say that that's where I sort of gravitate to, even though I don't really think of it at the time as, right, let's choose something arty. Looking back, I'm like, yeah, that was quite artistic. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see all the different elements of this coming together for me. So like I can see your connection to people, I can see your desire to reach out and help, and help people to come together and to have deeper conversations, to find the thing that unlocks their whether it's their isolation or whether it's they're feeling like they're not quite able to begin a conversation. I can see where all of that is coming from in this. I can see your own personal journey towards art, knowing that you gravitated towards all these things, even if you didn't recognize it back then, and now you're seeing it in your own practice. What about the entrepreneur in you? Where did that come from? Because you mentioned previously you worked for, I think, for 5 years in your previous job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
how did the switch happen?
So yeah, so previously I worked for 5 years doing sort of charity work and sort of running a charitable organization. And I've always sort of worked for people, and I've always had elements of jobs that I enjoy. And, as with everybody, there are elements that you don't enjoy as much. And as I've sort of progressed through my career, I've sort of added lots of different things to my repertoire. I became a chartered manager last year. Um, and one of the things that you sort of do in your quest to become chartered is a lot of self-reflection. And so I had a lot of time to sort of think about the things that I enjoy doing and the things that I don't enjoy doing. And this, along with sort of my previous vision of the entertainment cafe and how it could sort of work, it all started to sort of come together. And I was like, right, okay. So I wouldn't sort of like, I wouldn't say that I was arty, I wouldn't say I was entrepreneurial, but in order to bring it all together, I suppose I would need to be entrepreneurial. So that's how it sort of developed. I've not gone out to be like, right, okay, I'm going to start my new business because I want a new business to start. I've seen, I've seen something that is needed and I want to be able to deliver it. And in order to do that, I need to set up my own business. So it's been a journey more of self-reflection than of looking to just start a business, I'd say.
That's beautiful. I really like that because it's also consistent with some things that I've noticed in, like when you first shared a picture of your dogs on Twitter that I saw. I don't know if it was the first time you shared, but the first time I saw them, you mentioned that their names were Shuri and Zozo, and they were both named after very strong characters from movies and TV shows. And I think even from back then, I kind of knew that you were the type of person who was very into self-reflection. You seemed to be the type that would be more guided by a vision and guided by an ethic rather than guided by just, I want to do a business, what business can I do? So I really like seeing that, the passion and the need or the gap that you saw is what led to saying, well, business is the way to achieve that. um, so since I've mentioned your dogs, tell us more about Yasmin, the dog mom.
So yeah, I've got the two dogs, Shuri and Zozo. Um, Shuri, they're both rescues. Shuri we've had for 3 years, and she is 7. And she's very much the big sister, and she's very much all about sort of um just enjoying herself, and she likes to have relaxed sort of relaxation time. You don't want to mess with her whilst she's trying to take her nap. And then Zozo we've had for a year. We got her, I think, 3 weeks before the first lockdown.
Wow.
And she's young. um she's 3. um and she's very boisterous and she loves to play, and she's very much for little sister, and she'll rile up Shuri. She will be like, come on Shuri, let's play, and Shuri's like, no, this is relaxation time, you need to just chill out. Not Zozo, she doesn't like to chill out. She likes to be running about, and she's full of nonsense. So the two of them are a really good pair to have. Just watching them is hilarious because you've got this one who's really sort of low energy, chill vibes, and you've got this other one that's just wanting to do everything at right now. So it's there's never a dull moment with these two. There's always a fun story that they've got. So it's great having them. They're both mixed breeds. They're both mixed with a border collie. Shuri is border collie mixed with a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. And so she's got just the most gorgeous face and lovely temperament, and she just loves cuddles. Zozo is Border Collie mixed with a Labrador, Black Lab, and she is just very hyper. She jumps. She does this crazy jumping that I just can't get my head around. You know, because we've just had her maybe just over a year, there are still things that she does that amazes me. And we were on a walk the other day, and there was a wall, and it was probably sort of at my shoulder height, and I'm 5'8", so I'm quite tall. And we're just walking along, and all of a sudden Zozo just jumps. She leaps upward, and she's on top of this wall. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing up there? And
Oh,
dog
was
mum
she?
Yasmin, I'm like, oh my gosh, how are you gonna get down? You're gonna have to jump into my arms. And whilst I'm sort of stressing out about how she's gonna get down without breaking her leg, she's already down. She's already down. She's like, oh yeah, that was fun. She's just running about. And so yeah, she loves a good leapy.
She sounds like a handful. So I'm assuming she wasn't on a leash when she did the jump, or like,
And no, she was off lead.
yeah.
Um another new thing that we found out about her. So we had a lot of issues with her. I want to say barking at other dogs, but she she's screaming this sort of, it's like a woman being attacked scream. I'm like, oh my goodness. And any dog that would come along, she would just scream at it if it was a new dog.
Oh.
And we tried all these sort of behavioral techniques, and we found that the actual best technique for her not to scream at other dogs is to not have her on a lead. So we've got like large fields where we can take her, and lots of other dogs will be there. And if she's not on a lead, she will just
Sorry, I've lost you, Yasmin. I can't hear you anymore. No. I'm just going to pause. Sorry about that. I think we've got that again now.
So yeah, so we've got this huge field that the dogs can play in, and there are other dogs. And what we found was, when she was off lead, she would just run up to another dog, say hello, and move on. Not a peep, no sound whatsoever, no screaming, no shouting. So quite often, when we're in sort of dog friendly areas, or when we are in the field, we'll walk Shuri on the leash, and Zozo will be off the leash, because she just acts so much better off the leash.
That's very relatable. I've got a Chihuahua Jack Russell cross, and
Oh, beautiful.
he is a big barker, and he has leash anxiety as well. So he's really good in the dog park, and he's a nightmare on walks. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I hear that. I totally hear that. When we're sort of walking around the houses, if we're just sort of, just a quick evening stroll around, and because we're sort of where there's loads of people, we keep her on a leash. And it's so embarrassing when she just starts screaming at other dogs, and you're just like, dude, come on. I know you don't need to do that. But it is, she's on the leash, and she just wants to go and say hello, but she doesn't want to be held back, which she feels the leash is doing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's just so funny how dogs work. If I could have half an hour inside my dog's mind just to think his thoughts, see what's happening in that little head of his, I feel like my world would just be such a different place, because I don't know what he's thinking half the time, but he's thinking those things very strongly, whatever they are.
Yes. I love that they all have different personalities, and
Mm.
I always think, what if they could talk? I'm that person that does the like puts on the dog voices. I'm really bad for that. I'll sort of pretend I'm the dog, and I'll, you know, verbalize what I think they're saying. And does it make
Yeah,
me weird? Probably, but I don't mind.
I'm exactly the same. I have a dog, as I just mentioned, and my housemate has a dog, and so often we'll have little conversations where, you know, I'll be speaking for my dog, and my housemate will be speaking for her dog, and
Yeah,
it's quite entertaining.
yeah. I totally agree that I love coming up with things like that. I just think that it just adds that extra sort of dynamic to a conversation.
Yeah, and it's funny how the dogs just get their own inside jokes and they have their own vocabulary and they have their own like signature things. So like my
Yeah,
dog always says woof at the end of every sentence. So he says, "Mommy, when are we going out for a walk? Woof." And so
I love
um
that.
yeah, it's funny. Dogs are beautiful. Dogs are do you have any paintings that you've made of dogs or dog themed work?
Um, I do have. I've got one. I'm just having a look. I've actually got it as a screen. My background screen here, and it's sort of it's a galaxy painting, and a dog sort of a Labrador silhouetted in front of this galaxy. Um, and I like it. I really enjoy it. I just like the fact that it's a sort of, you just want to know what is the dog thinking, what, you know, what's going on in that mind with the galaxy behind, and this dog just sort of sitting there looking quite majestic.
Probably contemplating the question of who's a good boy.
Yep, exactly. Or what time's my next meal?
That's true. But I have noticed that there's a lot of different animals that you've painted in your work. You've got, I think there's like a bison, is it, or is it a cow of some sort? And
Oh,
the,
it's a Highland cow.
the Highland cow, yeah, with the beautiful
Yeah,
pinks again, the pink palette, the classic Yasmin
yeah,
pink palette, and there's giraffes, I believe. There's flamingos. There's elephants. Is that right? Um,
yeah,
so
yeah.
there's a whole lot of animals in your work. Are you drawn to all sorts of animals? Do they speak to you differently?
I wouldn't say that I was drawn to animals, and I would probably say I'm quite scared of drawing animals. But as you say, I've done quite a lot of them. um, Two of, I think, the giraffes and the elephants, they were requests from other people who were looking for something for, um one was for a birthday, a birthday present, and I think one, oh no, they were both for birthday presents, and it was mother and daughter. So there was a sort of a giraffe mum and a giraffe child, and an elephant mum and an elephant child. So those were both requested by other people. So it, it's not always my idea when it comes to the animals. Quite often other people have chosen it. um I've also got quite a few bird paintings,
Yeah.
which is, for me, I have a phobia of birds. I'm really
Oh,
scared of them, and
wow.
yet somehow they've made their way into my paintings.
I wouldn't have guessed. I wouldn't have guessed from seeing your paintings that there's any level of fear involved. There just seems to be so much connection and beauty and
Like
oh,
I
that
even struggle like watching videos with birds and things.
wow.
So I was quite amazed when, you know, one day the notion took me to, I think I did a toucan. That was one of my favorite ones that I did. But I think the sort of the colors of the toucan is what sort of drew me to it the most, because there were so many sort of vibrant colors on the beak, um, that sort of almost hooked me in, and that's sort of where that came from, that sort of vibrancy of the colors. So I think that was sort of more important to me than the animal that I was sort of creating, and so the bird came out of the colors rather than choosing an animal.
That's fascinating. This is absolutely fascinating. Have you noticed anything changing in your relationship with birds or animals in terms of your fear? Because I remember last year I took a class where we were learning about the exposure hierarchy technique to deal with anxiety, or something that you're avoiding because of anxiety. And one of the things they said was, for example, if you have a fear of snakes, the first thing you do is maybe look at a picture of a snake or draw a picture of a snake. And I'm like, interesting. So you have a phobia of birds. You're not at the watching videos of birds level yet, but you're at the drawing and painting birds level. So is that sort of relating to that phobia at all, or is it kind of splitting your reality into, this is my painting world and this is the real world? What's
Yeah,
happening
I
there?
don't know. I think probably it's the splitting of the two worlds, because at the moment, even the thought of um, another bird video creeps me out. So I'm definitely not at that level of exposure where I could um, sort of be in a room with a bird. That we're not there yet. um, but yeah, so, and I suppose um the sort of 2D-ness of the painting um compared to, I think it's the sort of the motion, the bird in flight, the bird moving, whereas the birds that I've painted have not been
In flight, they've been
in
quite still.
flight. Yeah, so
Fascinating.
we'll see.
I love that. I love the ability that art gives us to sort of take control of our own experience and to say, all right, if a moving bird is too scary, I'm going to engage with a still bird and I'm going to make it, like you said, 2D. It's going to be a 2D bird. It's going to be a non-threatening version of something that I don't quite love. Fantastic. That's fascinating. That's absolutely fascinating. So, your Discord server is already active. Your art club weekly event is already active. But the cafe itself is still to be launched. Is that correct? The physical space?
Yes, yes, we're still looking for a bricks and mortar building. It's something that I don't want to rush, because I want to find somewhere that is fit for purpose. Um, and there's lots of places that would um, fit being a cafe just fine, but I want to make sure that we have a place that can also fit the community aspect of it. So I want to make sure that we do have sort of adequate room for people being able to meet and do their shared activity. And I would be really disappointed if I rushed into getting something and it became sort of, okay, well, we do food and drink, but we don't really have the space to do the tabletop games and the art and the other sort of group activities. So it's all about finding the place that is right for us.
Yeah. Well, that sounds really, really wonderful. And I wish you all the luck in finding the perfect place, the place that, you know, really resonates with you and is perfect for all these activities. And I really hope that the space brings your vision to life, because it's such a beautiful vision. This space of welcoming, this space of low pressure engagement, the space of choosing to participate at your own level, and all of these things are just absolutely things I can get behind. um,
Thank you.
for now, would you say that the best place for people to find you is your website, your Instagram, Twitter, those sort of areas? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very active on all three. Obviously, Twitter is where we met. I am very sort of engaging on Twitter, and yeah, come along, say hello. I love a good chin wag, good chat. So yeah, come say hi.
That sounds great. So the website, I believe, is just thecharismacafe.com, and your Twitter handle is the Charisma Cafe, and your Instagram handle is the Charisma Cafe Art. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. You nailed
Cool.
it.
Fantastic. I will include all the links in the description to this video below. But thank you so much, Yasmin. I've really, really enjoyed having this chat with you today.
Thank you for having me. It's been brilliant.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And I will catch up again with you on Twitter.
Fantastic. See you then.
See you then.